Hello everyone. So I am so pumped for Clash at the Castle. I know the fans are going to be absolutely electric and the wrestlers always feed off of that. So with just 1 week remaining, who stands to make an impact at Clash at the Castle? I'm Casualeann. Come with me. She reminds us of Smackdown's 1200th episode and us being 2 weeks away from Clash at the Castle. Now just a week. Our first full-fledged conversation is regarding the Fatal 5-Way for an Intercontinental shot at Clash at the Castle. There was Sheamus, Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Ricochet, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn beheld Toronto beholding the conquering hero, except he wasn't at the end, because the Celtic Warrior was the one to come out on top. You couldn't help but feel sorry for poor Sami in that moment, of course. But since Sheamus won, he's the one that's the subject of the big interview. So Mega Morant starts into the Intercontinental Championship being, Sheamus cuts in, the one title that's eluded him for his whole career. It's the one he hasn't won, right? He goes on, he's been shouting it from the rooftops for the past 2 years. Everything he's done to put himself in the path, every time he's been shortchanged. Every time he was passed by until tonight in Montreal, where he survived and overcame a fatal 5-way to go on to face Gunther at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales, which is just a stone's throw away from the town he grew up in. It writes itself, he says. When something's meant to happen, it'll happen. And now we're weeks away from that opportunity, that moment becoming a reality. Because Gunther, he promises him. You may think you hold all the cards, that you being champion puts you in that top position. But I'm telling you, fella, in Cardiff, Wales, at Clash at the Castle, I'm going to drag you into the belly of the Red Dragon. And I'm going to defeat you for the Intercontinental Championship. And not just to become a Grand Slam champion. You're going to be involved in WWE history when I become the first ultimate Grand Slam champion. I was thinking, absolutely, sir, yes. But also, what's an ultimate Grand Slam champion? So I was researching online, trying to see what on earth he was talking about. And after all that looking and reading, Sportskeeda offered that it was every single championship on Smackdown. But I thought Edge had already done all that. The only thing I could come up with that Sheamus may be talking about is winning the 3 singles championships. So the Universal, WWE, or the Old World Heavyweight Championship from WCW. The US, the Intercontinental, then King of the Ring, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, and both shows' current tag team championships, Raw and SmackDown. That set's critical because Edge has done WWE, WWF, and the World Tag Team Championships, but never Raw and SmackDown. That's the one thing Sheamus has over him. In some way, he doesn't just set the bar, he is the bar. Well, it's Cesaro. Leave me alone. Jerry the King Lawler thinks that this accomplishment will mean everything to Sheamus, and that the Fatal 5-Way was one of the best matches he's ever seen. Now you know Jerry comes with the one-liners. He says when he looks at Gunther, he wonders who stole the boats from his neck. Me? I just figured Artie, the strongest man in the world, had finally achieved his dream of becoming a wrestler. But I digress. King continues, after what he saw from Sheamus, all the beats of the Bowery, if he does that to Gunther, he'll have the pirate's dream, a sunken chest. He's putting his euros on Sheamus to win. Now, how optimistic, King? I'm not going to say who exactly I think is going to win just yet. You got to wait on my Clash at the Castle predictions video. I will say this though, Sheamus is motivated. He's not one-dimensionally angry anymore. He's purposeful. And that feels more interesting and dangerous than the "I love to fight" and brawling brutes Sheamus. This promo proves it. They announced the other 2 segments guests before the break, and I'm like, oh no, really? Again? But I'm not going to put them out there just yet. Got to keep waiting for that. But who do you think is going to win the Intercontinental Championship at Clash at the Castle? How do you think the match will end? Let me know in the comments. After some commercials, we get a replay of Ronda because she got locked up. They won't let her out. But who knows? Maybe they have let her out by now, but you can't blame them because she judo through all the security over and over. But at least she was taken in by this beautiful man on the right and this young lady on the left with an inexplicably gigantic uniform. Jackie moves to the Tag Team Championship tournament, juggling in the light of Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark's injuries. Toxic Attraction defeat Natalya and Sonya Deville to advance to the semifinals. Now, of course, since then, Gigi Dolan has also sustained an injury, which will have the final semifinal spot determined by a last chance fatal 4-way tag team match. I can't help but be intrigued. We'll have Tamina and Dana Brooke, Xia Li and Shotzi, Nikki ASH and Doudrop, and Sonya Deville and Natalya fight it out for the right to be pinned by Raquel and Aaliyah later on tonight. So, seeing as how it doesn't exactly matter who wins unless they end up feuding with Bougie and the Beast if they become champions, I'm not certain as to how this fatal 4-way goes. I think maybe they have Nikki ASH and Doudrop handle this one just because they're the last actual tag team that's ready to fight out of the eliminated ones, but we'll see. And now that there's a particular faction that seems to be everywhere, we also see them on Friday Night Smackdown. Megan Morant has Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai backstage. She asks, what do they see out there? Bayley calls this a return because we all know that SmackDown is Bayley's show. She's the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. They're doing what they said they were going to do, which is run the division. So why not start at its core? Natalya's been there for how long? Sonya's been the GM, and they know the division, so they had to get a front row seat. Now Dakota kicks in that after seeing the competition, she feels really good about everything. They've got this in the bag. Io speaks Japanese. Bayley says that means women's tag team champions. Then they try a chant. They're fine, but I don't want to see them on every single show, especially the post shows. They were drab enough on the one show to say nothing of taking up 2 segments a week. But I see they're at least a bit better than Raw Talk. Dakota kind of interjecting before Bayley had finished maybe got some of that formulaic aspect, that kind of feel from Raw Talk, away. But I liked Io Sky when she spoke a little bit of English too, so that people don't have to essentially speak for her by translating. I don't really care for that. But again, better. After the last break, they give us just a little morsel, a little something to whet the appetite, to titillate the senses of our guilty... I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. It was Drew and Roman's interaction. But at Clash at the Castle, he's going to tear Roman apart, he says. And the title's from Roman. See, he's alone without the bloodline. Feels like a fight in Montreal. Crazy. Takes his shirt off, so you can't fight with his shirt off. I'm sorry. But there's no fear in action, supposedly. It got physical fast, but Sami Zayn is the most underrated member of the bloodline because when it comes to soaking up another man's butt kicking, there's no one like him. Maybe there's a babyface turn in the cards. Maybe even a tag team championship run with KO. I'd love either one. But turning to the SmackDown women's title hunt, they actually allowed Liv to get a clean victory. Triple H has done it again. Brilliant. Champions need victories. Otherwise, who wants the championship? But Shayna Baszler came at the end, nearly stomped Liv's arm into oblivion, but decided to play with her food instead. I like. Megan Morant addresses Shayna as she slips her jacket on. She's curious about the restraint Shayna showed. Now Shayna gives us this fantastic promo. She says, you know, I'm sick and tired of everyone accusing me of not pulling the trigger or restraint or whatever you want to call it. What I did tonight was strategic. I need Liv Morgan to be medically okay in Cardiff. As much as I relish in the sound of tearing people's limbs off when you tear the turkey leg off at Thanksgiving, that will be so much sweeter when I'm walking off with her limb and the title at the same time. That wasn't restraint. That was strategy. I need Liv in Cardiff. And now I've made sure she's going to be there. Watch me. The subtle detail of Megan asking the question while Baszler put her jacket on somehow made it feel more real, like she'd caught her in the middle of something. And I love the throwing Liv's line back in her face and the vivid imagery of the sound of tearing limbs, the Thanksgiving simile too. Juicy. Over these past couple of weeks, I've been impressed with Shayna's promos. If she doesn't win in Cardiff, she still needs a prominent place in the women's championship scene, because alongside being tough and intimidating, she's actually one of the more compelling promos on the roster, especially Smackdown. But King expresses concern over Liv Morgan's health and says Shayna could be the bride of Frankenstein. Just, wow. Camp points out how the last time there was a premium live event in the UK, it was 30 years ago, SummerSlam 1992, which is a pivotal moment for Drew. Now he wants to go in, win the WWE Universal Championship, and win it from the most dominant champion in Roman Reigns. So, my rating for the week is 4 out of 5. Control improved. Sheamus's heartfelt promo has me hoping that he will wrest the Intercontinental Championship away from the meaty hands of Gunther. And Shayna Baszler is one of the most low-key good promos the women's roster has. Hers is the segment to see. And the show was a definite upswing from this week's Raw Talk. What do you all think? Who's coming out on top come Cardiff? What is an ultimate Grand Slam champion? And will Sheamus even be the only one? Will Control come one step closer to running the women's division by obtaining the women's tag team championships? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like this video, comment on it, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And tap that bell icon to make sure you get notifications for when new videos come out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.